business news now, and I'm joined by Anke Uhle. Hello, Anke.
Hi.
Beginning with a big shakeup in transatlantic travel.
That's right. Well, it's a deal with many arms, so to speak, involving the airlines Air France-KLM, Delta, Chinese Eastern, and Virgin Atlantic. Air France-KLM is buying 31% of Virgin Atlantic, which means that for the first time ever, Richard Branson will give up his majority stake in the airline that he founded. The deal makes Air France-KLM the second largest shareholder in Virgin Atlantic after Delta, which owns a 49% stake, and it reduces Virgin Group's stake to 20%. Meanwhile, Delta and Chinese Eastern will each buy 10% of Air France-KLM, aiming to strengthen their transatlantic partnerships. After the decision, Air France announced positive earnings this morning, saying that it was thanks to solid demand for air travel.
And it's the end of a busy week in corporate earnings, and one of the companies making buzz this week was Amazon.
That's right. So on Thursday, Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos became the richest man in the world for about 4 hours, I believe. That's because investors were overexcited about Amazon's earnings announcement, but those hopes were dashed when the online retailer didn't deliver as expected. Amazon's profits fell 77%, hitting a 7-quarter low at 40 cents per share. Analysts had predicted $1.40 per share. Revenue, however, largely met expectations. Investors have so far been intrigued by Jeff Bezos' low-profit, high-investment business model for Amazon, but analysts wonder if it can last.
What you have to remember is the market is making him rich based on his ownership of Amazon. And Amazon is not making a heck of a lot of money. The market is saying that at some point in time, they will generate so much market share that they can set their own prices. This is extremely profitable, and so he's done what he's done. So it's really a tribute to someone who latched on to the strength of the so-called new economy and the internet economy and has ridden it.
Now, Amazon shares dipped up to 3% in after-hours trading, but the company is pushing forward with planned investments. Next week, for example, Amazon is holding a job fair where the company plans to hire 50,000 people in the span of a day.
And how are the markets reacting to all this company news?
Well, we're seeing a lot of reaction on the markets to those earnings reports. In Europe, we're seeing red across the board at open after a number of big European banks announced their earnings this morning. Paris's CAC 40 leading the losses, down nearly 1%. London's FTSE also down after UK bank Barclays reported a loss of £1.4 billion. Its shares were down more than 1%. In Asia, we're seeing negative responses as well. Kospi leading the losses over there, down nearly 2%. It's being dragged down by Samsung, which lost 3%. Tokyo's Nikkei closed down 3/5, and Hong Kong was down more than 0.5%, with Shanghai completely flat. Let's look at some other business news that we're following for you. Starbucks has closed its biggest deal ever. The coffee giant has bought out its Chinese partners for $1.3 billion to take full ownership of all of its China outlets. It will now own 2,800 stores across China, its fastest-growing market outside the U.S. France will temporarily nationalize its biggest shipyard, STX France, as it negotiates ownership with Italy, which bought majority stake in the company back in May. The decision has prompted outrage from Rome. Italy's economy minister said it was grave and incomprehensible that the French government would back out on previously agreed accords. And Renault and Nissan led global vehicle sales for the first half of the year. It's a first for the Franco-Japanese alliance. The alliance, which includes Mitsubishi Motors, sold more than 5 million cars around the world from January to June. They beat out second-place Volkswagen, which was followed by Japanese rival Toyota.
And finally, a bad omen for the future of petrol, coming from an unexpected source, the CEO of the biggest listed oil company in the world.
That's right. He's probably the last person you'd expect to sing the praises of electric. But Shell CEO Ben Van Beurden is a man of surprises. Van Beurden says that come September, he's trading in his diesel car for an electric Mercedes-Benz S500e. He told Bloomberg TV this week that electrifying the automobile industry is one of the only ways to keep global temperatures down. Yesterday, during an earnings call, Van Beurden said that Shell is bracing itself for a lower forever oil price environment by the end of the decade, and will be shifting production focus to natural gas and renewable energy. So quite a shakeup in the oil industry coming from a very big name.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Anke Uhle, with the latest in the business news.